There is also a sobering reminder in these pages. Purpose does not remove struggle, it redefines it. Pain, failure, setbacks, they do not vanish when you find purpose, but they stop being meaningless. They become part of the path. Like a sculptor chiseling stone, each strike of hardship shapes you into something truer. Stanley tells the story of organizations and individuals who faced overwhelming obstacles. But because they were driven by a cause larger than themselves, they endured when others broke. That is the alchemy of purposeful performance, turning suffering into strength, chaos into clarity. He speaks about alignment, not just personal alignment, but organizational. A company driven only by quarterly profits may rise quickly, but it will eventually crumble under ethical rot or lack of vision. But when a company grounds itself in a mission that transcends the numbers, when its people know that their work contributes to something larger, then performance becomes culture, and culture becomes legacy. The same applies to families, teams, and even nations. Purpose aligns the many into the one, yet purpose is not static. Stanley reminds us that life is dynamic, and so is purpose. What drives you at 20 may not drive you at 40. Purpose must be revisited, refined, and sometimes reimagined. He calls this purposeful adaptability, the ability to remain anchored to values while adjusting direction as seasons change. Think of a river. It flows, it bends, but always moves toward the ocean. Purpose is that river, reshaping itself, but never losing its destiny. There is a moment in the book that lingers like a whisper, the acknowledgement that performance is not only external, but deeply internal. It is not just what you achieve, but who you become in the process. The world loves trophies and medals, but purposeful performance asks, did you grow in courage? Did you deepen in compassion? Did you align closer to truth? Because at the end, when all the titles fade, these are the real measures that remain. Stanley also pushes us to confront the paradox of control and surrender. Yes, you can train, plan, and prepare, but there will always be forces beyond your command. Uncertainty, change, loss. Purpose allows you to surrender without collapsing, to bend without breaking. It gives you resilience, because you are anchored not in outcomes but in meaning. You cannot control every wave, but you can hold fast to your course. Perhaps the most beautiful insight in purposeful performance is the idea of legacy not as monuments or accolades, but as the impact your life has on others. Performance that is only about you dies with you. But performance rooted in purpose plants seeds in others, seeds of inspiration, growth, and courage. Think of the teacher whose influence carries on in students, the parent whose sacrifices echo in the lives of children, the leader who creates a culture of integrity that outlives their tenure. Purposeful performance is not about building empires, it is about building people. As the book draws toward its close, Stanley offers a challenge. Live today with the awareness of the end. Imagine looking back at your life years from now. What will matter? The promotions, the possessions, or the meaning, the relationships, the growth you cultivated. We fear death because it ends performance, but purposeful performance ensures that even in endings, something eternal remains. So what do we do with this? Stanley doesn't hand us a formula, because purpose cannot be outsourced. Instead, he invites us to wrestle with the questions, to carve our own compass. Begin by asking, what do I value most deeply? Where am I performing just for applause? And where am I performing because it aligns with who I am? What storms have I survived? And what meaning have they revealed? Each answer, however incomplete, is a step closer to purposeful performance. The book ends not with closure, but with a call: live aligned, live awake. Live as if your actions matter, because they do. The stage of life is not waiting for you to perfect your role. It is waiting for you to perform with integrity, with clarity, with courage. Performance without purpose will drain you. Purposeful performance will sustain you and those who come after you. And so, the question returns, sharper than ever. When the curtain falls on your life, will you have been a performer for the crowd, or a performer for the truth of your own soul? Will your effort be a monument to nothing, or a seed that continues to grow? The choice is yours every day, in every action, in every decision. If these ideas have stirred something in you, don't just let them fade into background noise. take them with you. Reflect, act, realign. And if you want to go deeper, read Jonathan Stanley's Purposeful Performance not as a manual, but as a companion on your journey. Because life is too short for empty victories and too precious for wasted effort. Perform, yes, but perform with purpose. What does it mean to live a life of performance, yet not be hollowed out by it? We live in an age where the scoreboard rules us, where success is measured by numbers, titles, and fleeting recognition. Yet how often have you felt the weight of achievement without fulfillment? The strange emptiness that comes after hitting a goal you thought would change everything. Imagine spending your life climbing a ladder only to realize it was leaning against the wrong wall. That question, that haunting possibility, is what Jonathan Stanley confronts in his book, Purposeful Performance. And today, we are going to walk through its pages not as a summary, but as an unfolding journey, a mirror held up to your own life. At the heart of this book lies a brutal truth. Performance is everywhere. It is not just athletes on the field or CEOs in the boardroom. Performance is the student preparing for exams, the parent trying to hold a family together, the artist chasing a vision, the everyday worker showing up again and again. Yet Stanley argues that performance without purpose is a trap. It devours energy, but gives no nourishment. It is like running endlessly on a treadmill, sweating, straining, pushing forward, but going nowhere. The world rewards visible results. But if those results are disconnected from who we are and why we exist, they become monuments to nothing. So Stanley begins with the most important question of all. Why? Why are you doing what you are doing? Why does your effort matter? It sounds simple, yet most of us live entire lives without really asking it. We inherit goals from society, from family, from peers, but rarely pause to consider whether they are truly ours. That pause, that uncomfortable silence, is where purposeful performance begins. But before purpose, Stanley takes us deeper into the anatomy of performance itself. He dissects it like a craftsman sharpening a blade, showing that performance is not a single act, but a living process, a constant interplay of mindset, discipline, and environment. He describes how performance is fragile when built only on willpower, how it collapses under stress when it lacks roots. Imagine a tree with shallow soil. It may look tall and strong, but the first storm will tear it down. Purpose is the soil. Without it, performance is always temporary. And yet purpose is not given, it is forged. Stanley tells us that purpose is not found in a single lightning bolt moment, but through alignment, through deliberate reflection on values, identity, and direction. He asks us to imagine purpose like a compass. You may not know every turn of the journey ahead, but with a compass, you will always know your true north. Performance without purpose is like sprinting blindfolded, exhausting, frantic, but lost. With purpose, every step has weight. Every struggle has meaning. One of the most striking ideas in the book is the shift from external validation to internal integration. Most of us are trained to perform for applause, for grades, for promotions, for likes and followers. But Stanley warns that applause is the most addictive drug of all, because it makes your worth dependent on others. Purpose frees you from that addiction. When you align performance with who you are, then even unseen victories, discipline, and solitude, integrity when no one is watching, become powerful. They become enough. Imagine an artist painting not for a gallery, but because the act of painting itself is an expression of their soul. That is purposeful performance. But the journey is not only about philosophy, it is also about the battlefield of everyday life. Stanley speaks to leaders, athletes, professionals, and dreamers alike, showing that performance is not about perfection, but about sustainability. Anyone can sprint, but few can endure the marathon of a life lived with intention. That endurance requires rhythm, moments of action, balanced with moments of rest, clarity balanced with flexibility. He warns against the burnout culture that glorifies endless hustle. What is the point of crossing the finish line if, by the time you get there, you have destroyed the very self you were running for?